Oscar Fingal O'Flaherty Wills Wilde was born in Dublin on October 16, 1852. He studied at the Trinity College in Dublin and at Oxford. Then, he began becoming popular for his sarcasm and for his versatile intelligence. In 1884, when he returned to London after spending a month in Paris, he married Constance Leloyd. Apparently, theirs was more a facade marriage, since Oscar Wilde was homosexual and used to live his condition with embarrassment, especially in that Victorian context. After having 2 children, the couple divorced after the revelation of his first homosexual relationship. In 1891, his unique novel entitled The Picture of Dorian Gray appeared, an artwork thanks to which he is still popular today. The peculiarity of this book is that Dorian Gray shares many characteristics with the writer. However, his work was initially criticized because critics thought signs of decadence and moral crumbling characterized the latter. Nonetheless, the Victorian society didn't like the simple and spontaneous way in which his homosexuality was shown, and for this reason, in 1885, Wilde's brilliant career and private life were destroyed. In 1895, he was sued for the crime of sodomy. In 1898, he returned to Paris after his release from prison and learned about the death of his ex-wife. After some years of traveling with his partner Alfred Douglas, he died of meningitis on November 30th, 1900. The Picture of Dorian Gray is set in London in the 19th century, which was characterized at that time by a typical bourgeois mentality. Dorian Gray is a young man of an extraordinary beauty, pureness, naivety, and with an amazing capacity of giving indescribable sensations to people. The beginning of the story takes place in a painter's studio. Basil Hallward, a man with a particular sensitivity, who liked Dorian so much that he decided to paint a portrait of him. He also met Lord Henry Wotton in that studio, a cynical mentor with an extreme elegance. Thanks to his qualities, he succeeded in capturing Dorian's attention and transforming him into the incarnation of his way of thinking. After a long conversation with Wotton, he began seeing beauty as something so rare and vital that he began envying his portrait and ended up making a pact with the demon, thanks to which he was going to remain eternally young because the picture would have aged in his place. After a difficult love story with the actress Sybil Vane, which ended with the suicide of the young girl, Dorian started undertaking a luxurious life and decided to hide the painting in his attic. He sometimes went to check his portrait, noticing it was getting more and more old, and this caused many regrets for Dorian. For this reason, because of the fear of being discovered, he decided one day to put an end to his guilt and to his nightmare. The 2009 film adaptation was directed by Oliver Parker, a British director and scriptwriter born in London in 1960. He began his cinematographic career in 1995, directing the film adaptation of the literary classic Othello, written by William Shakespeare. There are many similarities but also several differences between both works. Starting from Dorian's physical appearance, in the book he has blonde and curly hair and blue eyes, whereas in the film he looks completely different. Furthermore, at the beginning of the film, Dorian arrives in London and meets Basil and Lord Henry at a party thanks to his aunt. Nevertheless, in the novel, Dorian and Basil will meet at a party and Basil will later recount the event to Lord Henry, who will then meet Dorian while posing for the painter. The second difference refers to the love story between Dorian and Sybil Vane. In the movie, the two meet for the first time in a brothel, and he falls in love with her at first sight. He will later see her face on an advertisement for a theater play where he will see her acting. In the end, they will spend the night together, and he will promise to marry her. However, after being manipulated by Lord Henry, Dorian will be brought into a brothel where he will let himself go to all kind of pleasure. This will lead him to step back from Sybil without knowing she was pregnant. Sybil understands she was betrayed, so she kills herself, drowning in a river. In the book instead, Dorian happens to meet Sybil in London by chance in a theater, and he will fall in love with her way of acting. He will later invite Basil and Henry to the theater to meet the young girl. However, something goes wrong and Dorian and Sybil begin arguing. The young girl, because of her suffering, decides to kill herself by swallowing venom. The important thing is that in the book, Sybil and Dorian only kiss. The third difference in the film refers to the scene of the kiss between Basil, who is in love with him, and Dorian. Whereas in the book, we barely understand Basil's feelings towards the young man. He only talks about it with Henry. Another small difference refers to the killing of Basil by Dorian. In the film, the body will be reduced into pieces and thrown into the river where Sybil died. A fisherman will later find his body. In the book, Dorian involves his chemist friend by asking him to eliminate the painter's body and confessing his mortal sin. After helping Dorian, the chemist will commit suicide. In the final scenes of the film, we notice a new character, Henry's daughter. Afraid for his daughter, Henry decides to discover Dorian's secret, corrupting his butler to find the keys to the attic. That is where he will discover the painting, which will then be stabbed by Dorian to put an end to his suffering. In the book, things happen differently. In fact, Wotton will only ask Dorian once about his secret, and after an unclear answer from the young man, Henry gives up. Due to his desperation, Dorian stabs the painting, the source of all evil. But since the painting represents his own soul, Dorian will become old and die in the end, whereas the painting will keep getting younger, like the day in which Dorian posed for Basil.